Mitch Galbraith from Oceanelli. Welcome to Australian Musician.
Hey Greg, good to be here. Thanks for the chat.
Yeah, going way back when Oceanelli began, what were the goals? What were the ambitions at the time?
When the band first started, there weren't many grand ambitions, I'll tell you that. But we just enjoyed playing music together and the time we got to spend hanging out at the beginning. And when we first started writing our own music and getting gigs at pubs, our ambitions were just to play bigger and better shows the next time round, and we continue that ambition to this day, I think.
Yeah. When you started getting into guitar, who were the specific guitarists you were into and copying their licks or trying to copy their licks?
I remember one of the first songs I learned on guitar was Feeler by Pete Murray.
Okay.
Um, so that must have been coming out just as I was picking up guitar. And then of course the music that my father listened to, which was a lot of Dire Straits, a lot of Jimi Hendrix, Pink Floyd. And so they were the sounds that we were trying to emulate as kids back in the day.
Yeah, all the good stuff.
The good stuff, yeah, yeah, and it's still we think some of the best music ever created from that period. So
Yeah. Um, Now fast forward to 2024, or you have been for a while, traveling the world. You just completed a US and Canadian tour. It looked like it was a great experience. What were the highlights of that?
yeah, the highlights of the American tour were probably playing, and the Canadian tour were Vancouver. That was the last night that we played, and that was a massive venue at the Thunderbird hockey stadium there, and a good way to wrap the tour. And yeah, I mean, it's hard to pick out a favorite show or a favorite place because they're also varied up in North America. You know, it's like traveling in Europe. They're all like different countries, the States, I think.
Yeah. Some bands never managed to get outside of Australia or even tour interstate. What are the main elements that have allowed you to tour overseas and develop an audience?
Um, it's hard to put your finger on it, but we've been tried to be really consistent with our presence and the proliferation of our music and trying to be consistent with writing music. Um, and we grew a loyal fan base back home playing on the Northern Beaches when we were kids, which was a wonderful place to start a band because yeah, or you would play to all your friends around town and they would support you no matter what in the beginning, and fostering that sort of culture of smaller bands starting off in pubs in their hometowns is really important to set them up for doing bigger things later, I think.
Uh, One of the things you're doing next year is you're playing Bluesfest, which at the moment looks like the last one. We'll wait and see. But you played there before. How was your last Bluesfest experience?
Yeah, wonderful. It's a beautiful part of the world, and we're obviously living up here now. I don't think we were at the time. Um, but yeah, it's such a historic festival in the music scene, and yeah, it brings together a different crowd of people than many of the other festivals we attend and play at. It's much more. There's much, so much more family walking around, and so many different generations of music lovers and artists as well. And so that's what I think makes that festival unique.
Are you looking forward to catching any other bands while you're there?
Yeah, yeah. We'll be playing on the Thursday night with Tones and I, and of course, Crowded House will be someone that we'll be looking forward to seeing. Um, and it's just full of acts. We've played with the Cat Empire before, so we'll be on site with them again. And John Butler Trio, he's a hero of Australian roots music. So
Uh, will you be playing much new music by then, or will you have new music out by then?
yeah, we've just released a new song called Tangerine, and that's been going down a treat. We've been playing that in Europe, and so I'm sure we'll be playing that. And then, yeah, right now we're working on our next body of work. So with our time off we've got at home over the summer, we'll be doing some writing and recording, and hopefully Tangerine will be joining some other creations, and we'll have a bunch of new stuff to play by then, I'm sure.
Yeah. You made a great clip of Tangerine while you were in Montana. Was
Yeah,
that a spur of the moment thing?
it was a bit of a spur of the moment thing. I think I think those music videos suit us. We enjoy them. We enjoy making them, and we enjoy sort of the aesthetic of them. And I think it was just too good of an opportunity to pass up because it was such a, foreign place, strange place to us. And yeah, I think it suits the song as well. We realized that the song's a bit grungier and darker, and it suited something different than our normal ocean-based sort of visuals.
Led Zeppelin released a famous song called Tangerine as well.
Mhm.
Were you aware of that, or you weren't deterred
I,
from using the same
I
name?
don't, yeah, I don't think so. I know that the drummer and the bass player are more Led Zeppelin heads than I am, but I'm not quite sure we realize that. So, but hey, it must be a good name if Zeppelin chose it. So,
Yeah. Um, let's talk about your gear. What's your main guitar that you use?
um, I'm using a Fender Stratocaster mainly, and a Fender Telecaster. I got a bunch of them. I've got um, the Kurt Cobain Jag as well, but I change my guitars quite a lot on stage. My parts kind of vary, um, and more so than Baden and Angus for sure.
Yeah. Are you much of a pedal board guy?
I'm not much of a pedal board guy, but the pedals that I use, I've normally got delay running on something, on most of my sounds.
Yeah.
Um, and yeah, and we're running Victory amplifiers, both Baden and I, and off stage, so that's cool.
Uh, how do you work out between you and Angus who plays what guitar part? Are your roles pretty much set? One does rhythm, one does lead, or does it um
So
over?
the roles aren't really set, but where we've become, that's what we sort of have learned from the beginning, is to realize that there are roles to be had in for certain parts of the song. And so the roles might not be set for each person. So we do change up the roles. But once the song like bare bones sort of happens, Angus and I sort of have converse a bit more about the guitar and what should be poking out where and what needs to come in there. So that was one of the things that we first uh, realized we had to work pretty hard on with three guitars and a bass player.
Yeah. Do you find that the songs develop the more you play them on tour?
Um, they do, yeah, for sure. But we're always trying to keep it as original to sort of how we recorded it and stuff. I think that's important for us, important for the fans. But there's always little changes that you end up making that make, as you're playing progresses over the years, you end up playing those older songs quite different to how you first did.
Yeah. And what about your sound checks? Do you use sound check to try out new material, or do you just use it to get the sound right?
Our audio team is incredible, and the line checks are immaculate, and it sounds perfect nearly every gig. I hope they don't hear that because they might stop working so hard. But so our sound checks are relatively short unless we're trying to rehearse something particular or fleshing out some new stuff that's unreleased. And yeah, we do use that time on tour to do that because we don't really spend that much time off the stage and outside of the venue tinkering out on guitars during tour. It's just something that, we've never felt the right zone to be in. But once we're on stage sound checking, that's what we do. And by the end of the tour, we can get pretty good and end up sound checking half a song and walk out on stage 4 hours later, and it's perfect.
Yeah. We've already said Tangerine is out, and you'll probably have some new music out by the time you play Bluesfest. What does it mean to the band to have a new batch of songs to play live? Does it make it fresh for the band?
Yeah, of course. It's been a while since Low Altitude Living came out now, and it's the same story every record, every cycle. You intimately get to know the songs while you're creating them, and then there's this incredible happiness and release when you finally get to show them to the world for the first time. But like anything, there can be too much of a good thing, and the novelty wears off after you're playing it, 50, 60 nights of the year. Um, and so that's what sort of spurs us. That's a big part of what spurs us on to bright new music, is to always be pushing our sound and progressing what we can create. And it's as interesting for us as it is for the listeners.
Yeah. Is it harder to create a set list the more music you release?
Yeah, of course. And the really old songs, there's some of them that frustratingly our fans really do love to hear, but we maybe don't so much want to play. But they always just creep their ways back into the set. And it's about that push and pull and sort of that connection with the crowd and giving them what they want, but also taking from them what we want as well.
Yeah. Is there an Oceanelli song that you're proud of for your own personal contribution to it?
Yeah. Stained Glass is a track. It's off Chiaroscuro, I believe. And I play a Gretsch sort of open, Gretsch hollow body guitar on that, and I was really proud of the sort of lead solo after the intro, I think. And it's played a bit lower down in the register, and I guess maybe I was channeling a bit of Paul Kelly in To Her Door, maybe, with a low doom 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 doom. It's obviously not so upbeat, but I really do like hearing lead parts in that kind of register.
Yeah. But when you look back at the band's career so far, what are your strongest memories?
Um, the international festivals that we played over in Europe on our first ever overseas tour, or to the Northern Hemisphere, they're ingrained in my memory, and they were some really good times. And then, of course, some of our favorite times back home have been the big festivals that we've played here, Splendor in the Grass and the 2018 when Confidence sort of broke through and won Hottest 100. They're very proud moments for us, but I think we're still most proud of our recent work, to be honest, and that we're able to keep going and keep doing this.
Yeah. We're rapidly heading towards the end of the year. What does 2025 have in store for Oceanelli?
We've going to have some new music, so that's pretty exciting. We've got a bit of time off the end of the year, actually heading to some festivals tomorrow, heading to Melbourne, NAM to play Ability Fest, and then we have Ability Fest in a couple of weeks in Brisbane, Meanjin as well. And then we have some time off, so that's cool. One of the first years in a long time we'll be at home for New Year's, and then that's going to give us time to be writing new music, making new music. And 2025, hopefully we're going to have our first trip to South America to play some shows. So that's pretty cool. We've had a lot of love online from people from South America, Brazil and Chile and stuff. So yeah, it's looking like we can potentially finally get over there for the first time and play some music.
Yeah. Well, Mitch, it's been great to chat, and we look forward to seeing you at Bluesfest and all around the country.
Thank you so much, Greg. Have a great day. See you there.
Thanks, mate.